Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. We're going to do agenda review for Wednesday, June 26th. Looks like we have a BOCC, Sedgwick County agenda and a fire district agenda. So Manager Stoltz, take it away.
Good morning, Chairman and Commission. We'll start off with, first of all, is Commissioner Meitzer not Zooming, correct? And is the Zoom link out? We might need Steve Stonehouse. Tanya, are you doing, or Nicole? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You weren't in my vision yet.
It's okay. Good morning, everyone. We're going to do a reminder for household hazardous waste that is hosted by Environmental Resources. That's happening on June 29th from 9 to 1 at the Hayesville City Hall. And then I have 3 good news items for staff recognition that we will have during county announcements.
On the agenda are 2 appointments. We have a District Advisory Board appointment by Commissioner Meitzner and a Food and Farm Council position, which is at large, which will be presented. On new business, Brent Shelton and some folks from GWP will be here to pitch the funding for the Project Downtown Master Plan. That'll be the first item. I think you've all been briefed on that. You've all talked to GWP people about that. Item F is a request. It's one of the few times we invoke the policy on naming that has to go to the commission. There's been a request by a citizen to name a pavilion at Lake Afton Park for the former director of parks, Mark Scroof, who passed away a year and a half or so ago. That will be presented by Tanya. You'll present that, but the citizen and maybe some family members from Mark might be at the commission meeting. So that is item F, and that's to name a pavilion, and the county would put a small plaque on the building. Tanya will have a visual presentation of what that is. And then the family, I believe, I think I briefed you all on this. They're putting a sitting bench out there in proximity to that pavilion. So this will be, item F is for the commission to approve a naming privilege for that. Okay. Nicole, I don't know if you want to talk about item G. This is a county brand policy that maybe just give them a thumbnail sketch real quick.
Yes, so I have meetings scheduled with each of you Monday to brief you on this, but just a quick overview. We adopted our logo back in '82, and we are ready to formalize our brand process and make sure that it's just giving us everything we need to continue what we're doing. I'm happy to answer any questions now or in our meetings that you might have.
Do the treasurer, register of deeds, appraiser, sheriff, DA, do they have their own logos, or do they? I've noticed on some of their stuff, they use their own logos.
Sure. So the sheriff, the district attorney, and the judicial court, AT Judicial Court, have their own designated logos, and then everyone else falls under the county logo.
Everyone falls under. So
yes,
the others, row offices have been briefed on this, and
correct.
Good.
So are we changing the logo?
No, the logo is not changing at all. There's no plans at that at this time. This is more of really just formalizing the process and the marketing pieces of it. That is our fonts, our colors, those kinds of things. So it makes it clearer for not only our staff, but our vendors on knowing what isn't approved to use.
What's official and what's not.
Correct.
Yeah. And you can't color it or snazz it up, or it is the logo. Mark.
It really is just a formalization process.
Okay. Okay, then we have Joel present the bids and contracts. And then consent items I and J are both Steve is on if there's questions. I and J are adult comprehensive plan quarterly grant amendment and adult comprehensive plan quarterly grant financial enhancement. Both are grants, KDOC dollars. Item I is $71,350 and item J is $6,607,000 and some change. Steve, I think you briefed, he briefed you behind the scenes. I don't know if you want to say anything of that publicly, Steve, or you're good to go.
I think we're good to go unless there's any further questions on that.
Okay. Questions?
Item K is an amendment to the KDAD's grant that we had gotten. The state fiscal is coming to an end. This is a 23-24 amendment. We didn't spend all the money because we had staffing shortages, so some of that money goes back to the state. That's what item K is about. If you want to talk on that or okay. Any questions? And Tim will field it. Item L is a Healthy Babies Program grant. I believe that is a renewal, $2,610,000. M and N are staffing adjustments. M is for a facilities position, and I'll try to explain this as best I can. You can rescue me. So they had shared a position, grant-funded position for facilities management at Health and ComCare, and ComCare's facilities are needing that full position, 100% of it. It was a 75-25 split, paid for by ComCare grant. Both shared a grant. ComCare is now going to take that position 100%. We'll have to look for some type of solution for health. Okay, so that's item M. Item N is a staffing table adjustment concerning a grant, a graphic multimedia designer part-time position in health that had been ARPA funded. And now since ARPA is ending, we are going to move that to a grant funded resource.
So we have someone that just does multimedia for overdose. That's a position.
Yes, that's part of the grant application that they submitted for the OD2A
Grant
grant.
funded.
It is,
So it's moving from ARPA to grant funded.
correct. Yeah,
No GF funds at all involved in it.
yeah, that's correct.
So really, we have somebody that does multimedia designer overdose.
Yes.
Baffling. Thank you.
Part-time, I might add too.
Right.
What exactly do they do?
Well, the OD2, they were doing ARPA work and now they'll be doing OD2A work. So they will be working on media campaigns related to naloxone, for example, overdose deaths. It's all about working with community partners to reduce the impact on opioids on the community.
Is this money coming from the federal government?
Yes. It's part of that large OD2A 5-year grant application that includes lots of different things, some equipment for forensic science, some staff positions for the health department, positions in the community as well.
Do they have performance measures they have to report back to the feds exactly what they're doing?
Yes. Yeah.
And is this somewhere in the middle of a 5-year contract, or is this starting a new contract?
I'm
You mentioned a
sorry.
5-year contract, 5-year,
It's a 5-year grant.
5-year grant. So it starts 5 years. If this is approved, this starts a new 5-year clock.
No, there are about 4 years left on the original OD2A grant. This position, this person was doing ARPA work. Now they'll stop doing ARPA work. They're going to do OD2A work.
Do we need to provide a office space for them and a computer and all that stuff? So we get some overhead costs.
They've already got it. I mean, it is an employee that was working full-time. Now, because of the grant funding, they're going to be working part-time with the existing equipment and office space.
This might be one of those positions that can work from home, I would assume, but I just want to make sure we'll minimize our cost to the county.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Item O is a request to add 2 part-time positions. It's a staffing table change. Elora, 18 months ago, we authorized 2 temporary part-time positions for her. What was happening is she had dispatchers who were experienced that took other jobs, but wanted to continue to work on a part-time basis in 911. So it was a staffing benefit for her to keep those people on part-time. That's working well enough that we want to take the temporary status off that and just give her 2 part-time positions moving forward. And Rusty, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's basically it. It has provided her with the opportunity to fill vacancies with these part-time people. It's working well. It's her budget. She has sufficient budget authority. She's not asking for any additional funding. Finance has confirmed that. So it's just making these 2 temporary part-times permanent so that one of them is currently filled. The other one is she's working on filling. And we don't want to eliminate these and fire the one part-time that's filled, because these are showing benefit. So it's just making them permanent, and she already has the budget authority, so we're not adding anything to her budget.
Item P is a position reclass for the treasurer's office to move a position that was called administrative support two to auto license supervisor. Fiscal note on that at just a little bit more than 4,000 per year. Sheena's here if there's any questions on that. Item Q. If we have any, is I guess I thought we already had a policy on payment cards and storing personal card holder information, but this is a policy that Greg Gann worked on. And I don't think he's available, but this is a policy which will help create guidelines for credit card usage and information coming across. If you have questions, has Greg briefed you on this at all behind the scenes? Might have him shoot you an email on the importance of this and why we need this policy in place.
I think this was an amendment to an existing policy.
Yeah.
And it was just cleaning up language based on the current practices.
It went
Because
through.
Some of the language, yeah, they went through the policy review committee.
Very good.
And there were things in the current policy that are no longer relevant to what's going on in the industry. So it was an update of language, and it was just amending the current policy.
I'll have Greg send you a summary of what Rusty just described. Then we have Sheena sent out an email to you all yesterday regarding item R. That is a resolution. We're amending several HR policies, grievance, military leave, bereavement leave, unpaid leave of absence, and military leave, National Guard and Reserve. Any questions on those? She's here and can answer those. I think her email was descriptive. And then item S, Lindsay has sent an email on this yesterday. It is a request to add additional budget authority in a risk management fund to pay building insurance. So she had sent an email to you all yesterday there. That's to authorize that authority within the budget. T through X are routine. The fire district budget has the policies on it. Is there any, I didn't grab a hard copy of the fire policy, if any, besides that. Item C is just the same payment credit card policy we just discussed. The brand policy that Nicole discussed, and the personnel policies procedures that Sheena sent the email on yesterday. That's all we had.
Just a quick question. Item H on the bid board. There was a large item on there. I was only able to just kind of preview it on my phone. Is that an insurance item for those that are bid board folks? I know Joe's on. Okay.
Lindsay's email yesterday, it is related to the item on the agenda where we're transferring the money. It is in
Okay.
relation to that.
That's what I wanted to tie into. Okay. Other questions?
Just we're going back to item M for just a minute. So that is that still going to be no cost to the property tax funds? That's no cost to.
That's correct.
Okay. And then item P, manager, did you say which office was that supposed to?
Treasuries.
Treasurer's office? Is this a cost to the property tax funds?
I believe the answer to that's going to be yes, but let me confirm that with you.
What, I'd like to understand what's the need there? What are we doing again?
Sheena, can you comment on that at all, or? I'm not sure if it's. Any other questions while she's looking that up? We will get you an answer.
I have one other question on the appointment for the Food and Farm Council. How was that chosen? What was the process for someone to get selected for that?
How does it?
Lisa sent out 2 emails to us on that.
She did? Okay.
She gave us a couple options.
There were applications that had come in previously.
Okay.
We didn't get looped in on that.
Yeah.
Commissioner Howell, to answer your question, that is for moving that position to an auto license supervisor. And when talking with the department, there are several hundred titles that are processed each day, and that was the need for the supervisor position.
They don't have that position filled today.
No, it's currently admin 2,
What does that mean?
administrative support 2 position. So this would be a higher level who oversees all that. All of the processes.
But this is property tax funded.
We'll clarify that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't have that on here.
I'll determine if it's property tax funded or if it's tag funded. I'll let you know.
If it's property tax funded, I guess I'm going to be a little bit of a pushback because we've got to be careful with our property tax dollars.
Okay.
I don't know why we grow anything at this point based on property tax.
Okay.
Any new positions, I have to be convinced it's absolutely necessary. I'm not sure if we're getting by somehow all these years and not having this position filled, and suddenly we have a new need for property tax funded position, I'm going to have a problem. Okay. Thanks.
Is this more where that we're picking up the cost of the license department
I'll
and the
clarify that.
state is not funding us?
I will clarify that. We need to clarify the funding and I'll put it out to all of you. I'm unsure.
I'll send it out right now and get it.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Should we leave that on the agenda then until we get more detail on why that we're having to fund this instead of the state?
Let me clarify if that is true. If it's coming out of general fund or is going to add to the burden of what we subsidize on their tag fund, I will pull it and we'll get Brandy to clarify and we will delay it for one meeting cycle.
One meeting cycle.
Thank you.
I guess I have one other question on the naming of those items at Lake Afton. Was this a commissioner sponsored in any way? Was anybody on the board here asking for this to be?
No, it came from a citizen to Commissioner Dennis.
I guess I'm wondering is we don't seem to have a policy on how to handle this type of request. And I know this is a fairly small thing, putting a little plaque on a building, it's not a big deal. Adding a bench is not a big deal. But now that that's happening, I see a bit of a Pandora's box and a potential that anybody who passes away in the entire county can ask for something to be named after them. And who's, and I hate to ask a silly question, but who's paying for the plaque?
The county will, the way it's, let's go back to chapter 1 on this. So originally, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, but a citizen contacted Commissioner Dennis with a request to put a bench at Lake Afton, a setting bench at Lake Afton to commemorate Mark Shrove. Not to name anything after him, not to do anything else. So we approved that and they were going to pay for all of that, the family and the citizen. Then that evolved into the naming of a pavilion, a shelter for Mark. That's what needs to come to this commission. The staff doesn't have authority for naming rights. That's in a county policy that we developed 7 or 8 years ago. And that's where we set today. The plaque piece, and Tanya is having real-time discussion as we speak with the citizen. I believe that the county will provide the plaque for the building, but the bench and all other expenses would be paid for by the family. And this will be publicly put out at the meeting next week, and we will have clarity for that.
I mean, I probably know Mark Strofe more than most, maybe more than the other commissioners. I've been here longer, but he's a great guy. But I'm just wondering about the precedent that this sets for any employee who's been here. I'm just not sure if this has any type of precedent aspect to it.
That's why it comes to the board for your decision.
Well, I want to honor Mark. I think he deserves to be honored, but I'm just a little bit concerned about if we say yes to this one. I can think of a lot of people that may want something similar.
If you go back, one commissioner asked for Interest Bank Arena to have a plaque for Unreal and his wife, and that's up there today. It's not out of the ordinary.
And I'm not quite sure how that happened because we never even voted for that, as far as I'm aware of. But that was not a small plaque. That was a large brass plaque. Lots of names and information on there. It was a significant investment that cost thousands of dollars, I believe.
But this is not a significant investment.
So this might be
It
a
was
small thing
a
compared to that.
request from Tracy, Mark's wife. to recognize the years of service that he had out there. And she paid for the bench, paid for the concrete that the bench is sitting on. So it's sitting in front of a pavilion out at Lake Afton, and they just asked to put a plaque inside with his picture on it to remember Mark for the years of service out of that lake.
Curiously, how does the zoo handle this? If they have if they're gonna, and I'm going back to the Interest Bank Arena, if they would have wanted to name that foyer or that staircase or that room for Commissioner Unruh, that would have had to come to this board. The simple placement of a plaque, I think, is where now we're splitting hairs there, and we may have to clean policy up a little bit on this. If the commission wants to, for example, the park bench out there, no naming rights, just simply to put a commemorative park bench out there, which happens at the zoo a lot. You will see, if you walk through the zoo, you will see benches commemorating people. The Zoological Society has authority to do that. The commission doesn't have to make a decision on that. If you want to name a pavilion, Mark Reed Elephant Pavilion, the commission has to, by policy, authorize that. So it comes down to naming buildings or rooms or bodies of water. The commission has, the way current policy is, the commission has to do that. But it's a simple plaque on something or a bench somewhere. Then if the facility can handle it and the facility operator is okay with that, then that is allowed. That's under current policy.
We have also had resolutions to receive objects donated to the county. And also, this is about naming rights, I should say putting a plaque on a building, but is there a resolution about receiving the donated bench to the county? Do we even need?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Had that in the past, people say we donated some whatever objects to the county. We recognize that with a resolution. I'm just wondering, it just the whole thing seems a little bit like we did not drive this forward. This is simply we're accommodating a request and we're not put a lot of thought into it yet. And I'm wondering what type of precedent are we setting by doing it this way? That's all. There's a lot of things in the county that could be named after who knows who. And I'm just wondering, what is our policy? I love Mark, great guy.
And Commissioner Howe, I would clarify just slightly, and I think Tom got it right in terms of our policy lists out if it's a building, facility, park, or bridge, then it would need to be named. But it does exempt out Interest Bank Arena and the zoo specifically from that, and Exploration Place, and it mentions the Law Enforcement Training Center as well. So it exempts out certain county-owned or affiliated properties. But generally speaking, if it's a building, facility, park, or bridge, then it's going to need to go through the policy, which this pavilion would fit into that, I believe.
Might be time to revisit that policy. Exempting out county buildings, in which the zoo EP is a county building. The arena is a county building. It's managed by someone else, and I'm sure that's where the policy split the road, was if it's managed by another partner, then the county doesn't necessarily have the rights. I'm not so sure that sets well with the commission. What will probably bring this policy back and receive clarity. I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Howell. I mean, we have a request, we're bringing it forward. There has to be a vote.
And his wife will probably be there on Wednesday at the board meeting. In addition, I want you to all to know that we planned, she has family coming in from out of state. And so to plan for that, it looks like July 12th at 1 p.m. is when the plaque will be unveiled.
Okay. Good info. Thank you. If you ever build a statue for me, can you make sure I have better hair? Thank you. Appreciate that.
No grants.
Anything else?
Chairman, Lorian did follow up, and for the treasurer's position, it is auto license funded. But we do if it would be approved, we will transfer budget authority from the general fund to the auto fund at the end of the year to match their expenditure. So there would be a small expense to the general fund if approved.
Okay.
Where do we sit on that then? Do you want it pulled, or?
Is this a conversation that we should probably have with our treasurer? Commissioner Howe, Commissioner Dennis, is this something you'd like to?
At the end of the year, how much total are we going to be taking out of general fund to support the tag office then?
The CFO's in a training this morning. I'll get you an answer on that. Why don't we, I don't know that there's a pressing need to pull this or to have this on next week's
Right.
agenda. Why don't we pull it for next week, have Brandy come in and give further explanation on it, and then I'll have Lindsay here to answer that
Would you be
question.
comfortable with that?
We do have the amounts, what it would be for the current year, and it's just a little over $2,000 for the impact for the current year.
For that, I think what the commissioner's question is, though, we are, and for the last couple of years, we've been subsidizing the fund with general fund dollar. I think that's the question that we need.
That is a
Clear
Lindsay
answer.
question, yeah.
And we need all that information as we're preparing the legislative agenda this fall, because I don't believe it is Sedgwick County taxpayers' responsibility to fund the tag office. That's the state of Kansas responsibility. So these things need to be brought up in the public so that we can argue that we should not be subsidizing the state of Kansas.
So Tom, you want to pull that and see if we can set up some meetings with Ms. Bailey? Anything else? Off we go. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Thank you.